Machine Gun Kelly was going like, let's do air guitar,
Oh,
man.
no.
I'm like, I didn't want to become a commentator. I wanted to be driving a Formula One car. Well done. And easy. All I'm ever going to be remembered for is being ignored by Megan Thee Stallion. What you need is one of those orange lines that tells you where it's going.
That should do.
Like on the
That should
telly.
do.
Did it make the fairway?
Yep, I think it's on the fairway, that one.
How do you know that? I couldn't see the ball.
Did you see it or not?
At any point, I didn't see that ball. So I used to play 20 odd years ago, but it became so painful. I would have a round of golf and then limp for 2 weeks because I've smashed my foot up in a Tyrrell.
Was that in Dallas?
Dallas, 1984, yeah. I just finished second the previous weekend in Detroit. Wow, was I going to stick that little Tyrrell on the front row of the grid? Basically, it was a track that was a parkland perimeter road, just lined with concrete walls. There was no runoff hardly. There was nothing, no give. And I had a puncture into a chicane, and the car went sideways. And I, the first time, took the front wheel off. I had a left rear puncture. Then I slewed across into that part of the chicane, and that took the nose off because they were tiny little nose boxes back in those days on the cars. And so when I hit the wall a third time, my feet were sticking out the front, and it broke my right foot in 3 places, and it obliterated my ankle. And they were going to cut my foot off, and Sid Watkins stopped them because it started to swell up so badly. They were worried about, I don't know, gangrene or something like that, whatever it was. And a nurse kept coming in and putting a pin in my big toe, saying, "Can you feel this? Can you?" And then I began to work out why I couldn't feel it, but I was like, "Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, no problem." But basically, I was getting no blood supply to my foot because it did that. So I was fine for about 20 years, and then the last 20 have been miserable until just over a year ago, I had a beautiful titanium big joint stuck in my leg and my foot, a titanium and posh plastic
Very
ankle
fancy.
joint. Yeah.
And it's better?
It will be, I hope. Yes, it's quite a bit better. But what I'm nervous of is swinging a golf club. I think it might bend it or break it. You wouldn't want my foot to fall off before a Grand Prix weekend, would you?
No, absolutely not.
And nor would I. Oh, beautiful. You see, from here, that looked about 20 metres too long, but it wasn't, was it? It was just...
No, that's not too bad.
That was stunning.
Martin, I don't think I could do this interview without asking about the late, great Murray Walker.
Yeah.
What was he like, and kind of how much of an impact did he have on you in your career?
Well, he was a lovely man, and everything you imagine Murray might have been, he was. He was special, he was a genius at his job, and I learned a lot from him. I didn't want to become a commentator. I wanted to be driving a Formula One car, but I got thrust into the commentary box with him, and I often say it's like having Pele teach you how to kick a ball, basically, to learn from Murray Walker, and his ability to communicate. And on the eve of the first race, I said to him, right, I need some advice, Murray, about this commentary lark. Looks like I'm going to have to do it because I'd lost my F1 drive. And he said, I can't tell you anything about Formula One, Martin. You've been around it a long time. All I can tell you is, just remember, we're only here to inform and entertain, nothing more. And 29 years later, I live by that, because he's absolutely right. It's not about you. It's not about anything other than explaining to the fans, the motor racing fans, what's going on in front of their eyes in a fast-moving, highly complex sport. And Murray was just genius at communicating.
What do you think it was specifically about what made Murray so loved in the way he commentated? You touched on a minute ago about how he would make mistakes, but people loved him for it because it was so raw, right?
Yeah, well, it was done with enthusiasm and passion and integrity. He didn't pretend he knew everything. He didn't make out he was the greatest of the great. Yeah. He was just a communicator. Wow.
Birdie.
Well done. And easy. And under pressure.
It's not always that easy.
And it's still the same ball you started with.
Correct.
And so unless you drop that down your shorts on the fairway.
I did it when you weren't looking, I did that.
Looking.
Your grid walks have become synonymous with the Grand Prix weekend. How did they come about?
F1 ITV the producer said, we've got an idea, we'll just walk up and down the grid and say what you see. I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I walked down the grid and I sat down. I've got the cameraman to put his, and that cameraman's still in Formula One, still works for FOM, yeah. Keith. And I said, right, you might not realise this, but when you're walking, you know, your eye level's here. When you're in a Formula One car, your backside's on the track and your eye level's here. So this is what it looks like from a driver's perspective, and just easy stuff like that, really.
Why do you think they're so loved? And why do you think people resonate with the grid walk so much? Because they're so popular.
They are. You know, I've never seen one.
You don't watch it back?
I don't, no.
Why?
I can't bear the thought.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen snippets, of course, because it turns up on social media or whatever when it goes horribly wrong.
Horribly right.
But it's not my natural persona to run up and interrupt people or be cheeky with people or whatever. It's not me at all. It's sort of turned into that. And you know the grid walk annoys me, don't you? You know I don't really like doing it for that reason. But also, I was sort of a half-tidy racing driver and a half-tidy broadcaster. And all I'm ever going to be remembered for is being ignored by Megan Thee Stallion or knocked about by a bodyguard or not playing air guitar with Machine Gun Kelly.
That was brilliant. I remember that was recently.
But that was quite funny because I have 3 people talking to me in my ear on the grid, and I'd got my guys screaming, front of George Russell's car now, loads of work going on, it looks like there's a major problem, need to get down there now. And Machine Gun Kelly was going like, let's do air guitar.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, yes, very kind, not today, thank you. And he was like, boo.
But he was persistent. He was like,
very persistent. But I'm like, George Russell's car now. You need to get to George Russell's car now.
Meanwhile,
and this dude with 10 million people watching is trying to play air guitar with me, which I'd be hopeless at anyway.
It made for great TV, though.
I know. So I'll just be remembered for that. But hey ho, so what? Who cares?
What Formula One career, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. You have to ask people why they like it so much. I think it's because it's edgy. Even when I'm having a really bad day and nobody will talk to me and I'm being ignored, I think people are living that with me. And it's so what it is, and a proper TV broadcasting people wouldn't do it. It's 10 to 12 minutes, sometimes 14, unscripted, unrehearsed, live television. You don't know what's going to happen. That's superb. You must get so much pleasure when you've been able to strike a ball like that.
In 1983, in the British Formula 3 Championship,
Yep.
you had an intense rivalry with Ayrton Senna.
Yep.
What was your relationship like with him?
It was a bit strained because we crashed a bit together and we were trying to do the same thing at the same time. He won the first 9 races straight and I was on the floor, I was over basically. I was a hobby racer anyway, I wasn't a professional driver. I guess nor was Ayrton at that time. And then I beat him at Silverstone in a straight fight. And psychologically, 2 things happened. I knew I could beat him, and he knew I could beat him. And then I won, I think, 4 of the next 6 races, and he crashed a lot. And then he landed on my shoulder.
Was that Alton Park?
Old Park. They had to lift his car off to get me out of my car. He did a big lunge and he got a bit desperate. It was quite interesting to observe actually. So we went into the last round. I was 1 point ahead in the championship, but he got a fresh engine from Italy and we just didn't have any money left. Me and Eddie Jordan had run out of money. So
I was going to say the late Eddie Jordan.
Yeah, the great, late, wonderful EJ.
Yeah.
So Ayrton won, but let's be honest, Ayrton Senna was a better driver than me. He went on to do amazing things, but it made my career. Basically, I went from club racer, effectively, to straight into Formula One, and so did Ayrton. And in fact, I went with Ken Tyrrell into Formula One, and finished 5th in my first Grand Prix. My Formula One career started quite a bit better than Ayrton's, for example, but then we got disqualified in the championship anyway.
So when you were in the British Formula 3 Championship, did you think you were as good as him, or did you know this guy's on a different level? Just the feel he had with the car, or? Well,
his reputation preceded him. So when Ayrton was coming to British F3, everybody assumed he'd more or less won it before we even got going.
Right.
So yeah, he was good. He was special. We all knew that. And he had a gift. He had a gift to know where the grip was before and during a corner, and we knew where the grip was during and after a corner.
Sure.
You know, and he just had this sixth sense somehow. I remember a wet day at Silverstone. We left the grid, and I was leading. Down to Stowe, it was teeming with rain. And he went down the outside, and I thought, see you, wouldn't want to be you. He went all the way around the outside on the karting line. I never did karting, and came out in front of me. And I was gobsmacked as I took, you know, more like the racing line. Anyway, there's a big crash behind us, red flag. We had to go and restart the race. Going round to the grid for the restart, I thought I'm going to try Ayrton's line. Went down the outside, hit a puddle of water, aquaplane, down the grass, skimmed the barrier, but got away with it. Lived for another day, went back to grid, restarted the race. He beat me away this time. He won the race, I was second. And I said to him on the podium, your line into Stowe in the second part of the race didn't work, did it? He said, I don't know, I didn't try, it was too wet. And to this day, I'm thinking, how did he know that? And why didn't I know that? Well, the length was pretty good, wasn't it?
Not too bad.
Lovely.
Concentrate. Martin, looking back at your 12 years in Formula One,
Yeah.
do you have any regrets?
Yeah, so I didn't deliver my full potential, obviously, because there were days when I was teammates with Schumacher and I beat him, and there were days when I was rivals with Senna and I beat him. And so they're two of the greatest, if not the two greatest drivers of my generation, if you like. So why didn't I do better in F1? Didn't get myself in the right cars, and when I did, maybe let the pressure get to me a little bit. So I did not fulfill my potential. So that's really frustrating.
Were there any team moves that you should have made or could have made that you decided to go in a different direction with?
No, but there was one that would have made a big difference to me that I didn't decide. For 93, I thought I was going to Williams. Frank told me I'd got the drive, and I'd lost my Benetton drive to Patrese because they were going active suspension. He was an Italian driver. They wanted an Italian driver in what was they perceived as an Italian team. And Nigel decided he was going to IndyCar.
Yep.
And I'd been a Williams test driver as well before that. And I thought I'd got the 93 Williams drive. I was told I had, but I didn't. It disappeared somewhere, somehow. It was never explained to me. And I never bother asking Frank, because whatever the answer was, I didn't want to hear it. So if I'd have gone to Williams for 93, it would have made a huge difference. So my big chance, I'd been in Formula 1 8 years before I got my chance at Benetton. Schumacher was a new boy. People didn't realise, and Flavio to this day, he says I should have kept Brundle. We just didn't realise how good Schumacher was. But you know what? You get your chances, you take them, and what it now turns out is my entire racing career, including lots of sports car victories and long distance races, Daytona, Le Mans, and all that, was like a fact-finding mission for my so far 29-year broadcasting career.
Absolutely.
So I'm a very lucky man. I've had 2 careers out of it. But yes, there is frustration, and you park it over and over the course of time. But you look back and think, I should have done this, should have done that. I never got myself consistently in the right cars. I have no idea.
You guys go ahead if you want.
I have no idea where that ball is. No idea.
How's it going?
All right, and you?
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm
Okay.
How you doing? Hi, Lucas.
Hi.
How you doing? Nice to meet you. Hi,
you.
Lucas. Very nice to meet you. Martin, we'll do some quick fire questions.
Yep.
First thing that comes to your mind, just blurt it out. Dinner or drinks for a first date?
Dinner.
Favorite F1 livery of all time?
Marlboro McLaren.
What's one rule you'd like changing in Formula One?
Take away blue flags.
Favorite helmet design that wasn't yours?
Nelson Piquet.
Have you ever peed in a car?
Yes. Several
What
times.
I won't expand on that question. What was your go-to excuse when things were going wrong on track?
I'm just not good enough.
Who was your idol growing up?
Bobby Moore.
If you could bring back one piece of old school F1, what would it be?
Normally aspirated V10s.
Favorite track?
The Nordschleife, the old Nürburgring.
What's harder, overtaking in Monaco or getting an A-list celebrity to talk to you on the grid?
overtaking in Monaco.
If you could go back at any time in human history, where would you go?
I don't know why the Gatsby era.
60s, 70s?
They're the 20s,
Oh,
weren't they?
okay, well,
The
yeah,
20s.
sorry, I'm way off.
Yeah, I don't know. They seemed like nice times, but I'm sure they weren't.
Give me your Mount Rushmore of Formula One, your top 4 drivers of all time.
Senna, Schumacher, Clark, Hamilton. Not necessarily in that order, and I haven't mentioned your granddad, but that's my top 4.
Amazing.
Oh, unlucky.
Martin,
A 3-putter to finish.
I know.
After all that stunning play.
really appreciate it.
Well
Thank you
done.
very much for everything. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and be on the lookout for the next guest. See you soon.